Your clutter is stealing your peace. Here's how to take it back today. Have you ever looked around your home and felt like it was just too much? Not dirty, not messy in a careless way, just filled to the brim. Like your surroundings were starting to weigh on you a little, rather than lift you up. Maybe you catch yourself thinking, I used to know exactly where everything was. Or, how did I end up with 4 toasters and a mountain of papers? You're not alone. As we get older, our homes naturally become a reflection of our lives, layered, full of memories, full of things that mattered once. Every drawer, shelf, and closet tells a little story. But somewhere along the way, those stories can start piling up into clutter. Not because we're messy, but because we're human. And we hold on. The good news is, this isn't about throwing everything away. It's about keeping what matters most and letting go of what no longer serves you. It's about creating a space that feels calm and easy to live in, not overwhelming. A space that reflects who you are today, not just who you were 20 years ago. So today, I want to walk with you, gently and with care, through some of the most common causes of clutter, especially as we grow older. And more importantly, I'll share ways to deal with them that don't feel like a chore, but like a little gift to yourself. Let's start small and go from there. One of the sneakiest culprits? Paper. Yes, old bills, bank statements, receipts, birthday cards, medical records, even notes scribbled on the backs of envelopes. You might have a drawer or two, maybe a whole cabinet, filled with just-in-case papers. I once sat with my friend Frank, who had dozens of folders stuffed with documents going back to the 90s. We laughed when we found a phone bill from a landline he hadn't had in over a decade. But here's what Frank did that really stuck with me. Every Sunday afternoon, he'd put on his favorite jazz records and go through a handful of papers. He bought a basic shredder, labeled a few folders, taxes, medical, legal, and got into a rhythm. Slowly but surely, the piles shrank. What's more, he felt lighter, like he was reclaiming control. You don't have to do it all at once. Just start a ritual. Even 15 minutes a week can make a big difference. And if you want to go digital, scan important documents onto a USB or ask a grandchild to help you with cloud storage. You'll feel safer knowing what you need is easy to find, and what you don't is gone. Let's move into the kitchen for a moment. It's amazing how many tools, gadgets, and mismatched mugs can gather over time. Eleanor, a lovely woman I met at a community center, told me she had 7 can openers. She only used one, of course, but couldn't bring herself to toss the others. They still work, she said, and you never know when you'll need a backup. But then she realized something important. When her counters were clearer, cooking felt easier. She kept her favorite ceramic mugs, the ones with the perfect handle and just the right feel in her hand, and donated the rest. Same with her pots and pans. She used the same 3 over and over. The rest? Off they went to a local shelter that welcomed donations. You don't have to give up your bread maker or your fondue pot if you love them. But if they're just sitting in the back of the cabinet gathering dust, it might be time to let them go. You can organize your kitchen so the things you use every day are easy to reach, and the rare items can be stored elsewhere or passed along to someone who'll use them more often. Now, this next one can tug at the heart: inherited furniture and decor. Maybe you've got your mother's china cabinet or a floral armchair that belonged to Aunt Ruth. These pieces are meaningful, yes, but sometimes they don't quite fit in your home anymore. And yet we keep them, out of guilt or obligation. Let me share what Diane did and how beautiful it was. She had her grandmother's rocking chair, a solid, creaky thing with floral cushions, sitting in a hallway corner for years. She loved the memories but never sat in it. One day, she took a photo of the chair, wrote a little note about her grandmother, and gave it to her niece, who had the perfect sunny spot in her nursery. Diane kept the photo in a frame on her shelf, and suddenly, the memory felt alive, not stuck. You can do the same. If something doesn't bring joy or serve a purpose in your space, it's okay to let it go. Or better yet, transform it. I once saw someone turn a box of old doilies into a quilt, so the family heritage was still there, just in a cozier form. As we step into the living room or office, here's another common trap: books. Oh, I love books. Most of us do. They're companions, teachers, souvenirs. But let's be honest, we don't reread all of them. And sometimes shelves groaning under the weight of paperbacks can make a room feel chaotic, not comforting. Diane, yes, the same Diane, was a retired history teacher with hundreds of books. When she downsized, she chose her favorites, the ones she loved deeply or used often. The rest she donated to a local school library. She said it felt like passing on wisdom. And now, her shelves are a mix of meaningful books, photos of her grandkids, and a little plant she calls Sage. It looks lovely. And more importantly, it feels like her. Letting go doesn't mean letting everything go. It means being intentional, choosing what supports your present life. When the things you see every day make you smile, it changes how you feel in your home and in yourself. So take a moment today. Look around. Maybe it's the papers on the desk, the third set of measuring cups, or the books stacked in the corner. Pick one, just one, and ask yourself, does this serve me now? Or is it time to thank it and set it free? You've made it this far with wisdom and grace. Your home should feel like a reflection of that, peaceful, welcoming, and full of life. Sometimes we don't notice clutter growing, not because we're ignoring it, but because we're used to it. It becomes part of the background, like the picture frame that's always been crooked or the lamp you keep meaning to fix. But little by little, it adds up. That's why the next area we're going to talk about is your decor, and whether or not it still reflects you. Tastes change. Trends change. What once felt warm and exciting might now feel heavy or dull. Marcia, a widow in her 70s I recently chatted with, had a living room filled with porcelain figurines. She loved them once, collected them during her travels in the 80s and 90s. But lately, she said they just felt like extra things to dust. So she chose a few favorites, the ones tied to special memories, and donated the rest. In their place, she framed a beautiful photo of her kids and hung a colorful piece of artwork she picked up from a local art fair. Now, she says, her space feels more alive, more her. This isn't about minimalism or making your home look like a catalog. It's about letting your environment reflect who you are now. You deserve a space that makes you feel happy when you walk in. If that means letting go of a few faded prints or dusty souvenirs, so be it. Keep what lifts your spirit. Let go of what weighs you down. Now let's peek into the closet. Oh, the closet. If there's one place that holds more some days than anywhere else, it's here. Dresses from decades ago, suits that no longer fit, shoes you forgot you owned. I remember talking to Carolyn, a retired nurse, who told me she still had her uniforms from the 80s. I don't know why I'm keeping them, she admitted. It's not like I'm going back to work. So we made it fun. She invited a couple of friends over, put on some music, and they had a clothing swap party. They laughed, tried on each other's outfits, and at the end, donated everything they didn't want. Carolyn said it was the best her closet had looked in years. You don't need to do it all in one go. Try the 1-year rule. If you haven't worn it in the past 12 months, you probably won't. And for items with sentimental value, like your wedding dress or your favorite old sweater, there are beautiful ways to preserve those. Framed pieces, memory pillows, or even quilts stitched from fabric that meant something to you. Then there are the sentimental items that don't fit anywhere else. Old school projects from your kids, trophies, keepsakes from vacations. These things matter, but they don't always need to be kept in full. One grandfather I know, Walter, created something truly touching. He chose a hallway wall and turned it into a rotating memory wall. Each month, he'd pick a few items, a postcard, a photo, a ribbon from his granddaughter's piano recital, and display them in simple frames. It gave him a way to enjoy his memories without cluttering shelves or boxes. And it sparked great conversations with guests. There are also digital ways to keep memories close. Scan photos, letters, or kids' drawings and store them in a digital album. You can even use a digital picture frame that rotates through your collection so your memories stay alive and off the floor. Furniture can be another hidden source of clutter. We often keep what we've always had, but too many pieces, or ones that no longer fit your lifestyle, can make your home feel smaller, harder to move around in. Larry and his wife in their early 80s realized their bulky sectional was more of an obstacle than a comfort. So they switched to a cozy love seat and a single recliner, creating open space in their living room that made everything feel more breathable. They added a storage ottoman, stylish on the outside and handy for blankets and books inside. It's amazing how one or two changes can make your space feel brand new. Let's head to the basement, the attic, or, heaven help us, the garage. These out-of-sight spaces often become dumping grounds. You don't see the clutter every day, so it's easy to forget how much is built up. But when you do go down there, it can feel like facing a mountain. The key? Don't try to climb it all at once. Tackle one shelf, one box, one pile. You'll be amazed how much you can get through in a single weekend. Stanley, a retired engineer I know, made it a habit to spend 20 minutes a day clearing out his garage. He didn't rush, just picked one corner and got to work. In a month, the space had completely transformed. He even found his old fishing rods and took one out with his grandson. Sometimes decluttering doesn't just make room for space, it makes room for joy. And clutter isn't always stuff. Sometimes it's maintenance left undone. A broken light switch. That drawer that sticks. Tangled cords behind the TV. These little things, they build up physically and mentally. You walk past them every day, and each time a small part of you sighs. But you don't need to fix everything at once. Make a simple list. Pick one item a week. That's what Dennis did. He called it Saturday Fix Day. One loose doorknob, one squeaky hinge. Nothing fancy, just small steps. But now he says his home feels more functional, more peaceful, and he feels more proud of it. You'd be surprised how these tiny changes can shift the whole energy of your home. Just imagine walking through your hallway and noticing how everything is in working order. How there's space on the table. How the light through the window isn't blocked by an old chair. It's not about perfection. It's about ease. So take a breath. Walk slowly through your space. Notice what makes you smile and what doesn't. And remember, it's not about what you're losing. It's about what you're gaining. Peace of mind, clarity, a deeper connection to the present moment. You've lived a full life. You deserve a home that supports that life, not one that clutters it. And you're not doing this alone. We're walking this path together, one corner at a time. Now let's take a look in one place we often overlook, the bathroom. It might be the smallest room in the house, but clutter loves to hide there. Expired medications, half-used lotions, and shampoos you didn't even remember buying, they all take up precious space. Marcia, who had already tackled her living room figurines, told me her bathroom was next. She'd kept every tiny hotel soap she'd ever brought back from a trip. It started out sentimental, reminders of adventures, but eventually became a chaotic pile under the sink. So she set aside an hour on a Sunday morning and sorted through it all. She tossed the expired medications safely, many pharmacies will take them back, and consolidated her toiletries into clear, labeled bins. The result? A calm, spa-like space that made her smile each morning. And she said the act of letting go reminded her that memories don't live in a bottle of conditioner. They live in her heart. Speaking of small things that pile up, let's talk about cords and old electronics. Flip phones, broken headphones, mystery cables that don't connect to anything anymore. They end up in drawers, baskets, or bins marked tech stuff. and somehow multiply like rabbits. Dennis, our handyman friend, realized he had 5 phone chargers, none of which fit his current phone. He ended up creating a little tech station inside a decorative box. Just the essentials: 1 charger, his tablet, headphones, and a backup battery. Everything else? Recycled or donated? If you're not sure what something is or whether it's still useful, ask a grandchild or neighbor who's more tech-savvy. You'd be surprised how freeing it feels to clear out that drawer and know exactly what each cord is for. And labeling? It's a game changer. Let's wander over to another area that brings many of us joy: hobbies. Whether it's knitting, woodworking, painting, or puzzles, our creative spaces can sometimes become overwhelming. Judith, who loves scrapbooking, told me her dining table had basically become a craft explosion. She couldn't enjoy her hobby anymore because it took so long to find anything. So she repurposed an old dresser, labeled each drawer by material, stickers, stamps, ribbons, and carved out a cozy nook by the window just for crafting. Now, not only is her table clear again, but her projects are more relaxing and fun. Having a dedicated, organized space for your passion gives it the respect it deserves and keeps the rest of your home free from the overflow. And while we're on the topic of things we love, let's talk about displays, especially the sentimental kind. Photos, trophies, souvenirs, they're meaningful, but when every surface is covered, even the most precious pieces can get lost in the crowd. Larry, our memory wall enthusiast, actually expanded his idea. Instead of trying to display everything, he started rotating his mementos seasonally. In the spring, photos from family picnics. In the fall, little items from his travels. Each change refreshed the energy in his space and gave his treasures room to shine. Try it yourself. Pick a shelf, a table, or even a small cabinet. Curate it with intention. It's not about how much you show, it's about showing what matters, in a way that feels special. Less visual clutter means more emotional impact. Now let's touch on something we all know too well: unfinished projects. That half-knit scarf, the paint cans for a wall that never got repainted, the birdhouse you meant to finish last summer. These projects take up space, not just physically, but mentally. Shirley, a retired school librarian, told me she had a quilt she started in 2012. It sat in a box for over a decade. But once she joined a local sewing group, she found the motivation to finish it. And she said the satisfaction wasn't just in the finished product, it was in finally closing the loop. If you've got a project you still care about, set a realistic goal. Block out an hour this weekend. And if it no longer excites you, let it go. Donate the materials to someone who will use them. Freeing yourself from the weight of unfinished plans can feel like letting out a long-held breath. There's also the just-in-case clutter. Those jars, extra buttons, stacks of old magazines, scraps of wood in the garage. Raymond, a retired handyman, admitted he had enough scrap wood to build a second shed. But after realizing he hadn't touched most of it in years, he donated the usable pieces to a local workshop. It helped others, and cleared enough space for him to finally park his car in the garage again. You don't have to toss everything. Just give yourself a limit. One small bin of just-in-case items is more than enough. When you create boundaries, you reclaim control. Let's not forget the outside spaces, the shed, the patio, the garage. Ted and Nancy, a couple in their 70s, realized they hadn't used their rusty lawn chairs or the old badminton net in years. So they hosted a yard swap. Neighbors came, everyone brought a few items, and they all walked away lighter and happier. It became a small celebration, not a chore. And their backyard felt open and inviting again. Outdoor gear often gets forgotten, especially seasonal items. Take a little time before each season to check what you're using and what's just sitting there. For what you want to keep, invest in weatherproof storage bins to keep everything tidy and protected. Even something as small as a junk drawer can change how you feel in your home. Patricia, who'd been a teacher for over 40 years, had a junk drawer that could rival a hardware store. But one rainy afternoon, she dumped it out, sorted everything, and added little dividers. Now her drawer isn't junk anymore, it's a mini utility station. Pens, batteries, scissors, all within reach. No digging, no guessing. Finally, there's holiday decor. We hold on to every wreath, every ornament, every tangle of lights, even if we haven't used them in years. Barbara told me her attic was filled with Christmas boxes, some untouched for over a decade. She sat down with her daughter and sorted through it all. They kept the special pieces, the angel her kids made in elementary school, the ornaments from her first Christmas with her late husband. The rest they donated to a local church's holiday fundraiser. Now each year, decorating is a joy, not a burden. You see, decluttering isn't about erasing your past. It's about honoring it and making room for what brings you peace today. You don't need to do it all at once. Just start with one drawer, one shelf, one box, and trust that every step forward is a gift to your future self. Your home should be your sanctuary, a place that supports your life now, not a storage unit for everything you've ever owned. And the beautiful thing is, you can do this at your own pace, in your own way. So tell me, where will you start? I'd love to hear your thoughts and stories in the comments. If this video helped you feel even a little more hopeful or motivated, consider giving it a like, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Here's to homes that breathe easy, hearts that feel lighter, and the joy of living well at any age.